Please give a round of applause to our panel looking into the future and monetization in 2025. Thank you. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, cool. Oh, stick mics. It's more legit this way anyway. I don't like the head mic things. It looks too, like, I don't know, 2010. Cool. Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. Oh, it's a good house, actually. So, yes, my name's Ryan. I work for a company called NextBeat. Some of you may know me more as my role in the last 8 years at Quali, where I ran UA and monetization there. I've just started a new role at NextBeat, we are like music-first apps and games company spun off from Space Ape Games. We run BeatStar and many other cool things to come. But less about me, more about these lovely people. I think probably what, the goal today is to really talk about monetization in 2025. I guess what are the hot topics, what are the key things we're looking at, worrying about, and things in this vein. But before we get into the real deal, I think what would be nice if you guys can do the intros. There's quite a lot of you, so maybe try and keep it short and snappy so we don't spend all our time on that. But Kseniia, go for it.
Hi, I'm Kseniia Maiboroda. I'm CEO in Elevatix. We're doing artificial intelligence engine to monetize mobile games through the smart in-app purchases. So we're bringing the personalization for your players to grow your LTV and to let them just enjoy the game and not stuck on tens of pop-ups on every trigger.
Nice. My name is Fernando Pernica. I'm one of the founders and chief officer, and supporting the crew there, of Nefta. And we are a first-party data ad network, and yeah, working for publishers and advertisers as well to help them grow their businesses.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex, GM at AppHarbr. We're an ad quality tool that allows apps to have full transparency on every single ad served in their apps, and also to have full control over the ads, meaning in real time avoid showing ads that violate your ad policy in any way, and make sure that you actually show only ads that are good for your business without missing any ad request opportunities.
Hi everyone, I'm Itai Cohen. I work for Digital Turbine. We help developers throughout the entire growth lifecycle. So from the day a first device emerges in the market, and we help developers reach those devices all the way throughout the lifetime of the app on the device, where we have various ways to help monetize. And maybe most recently, an interesting venture is around alternative app stores in another avenue towards monetization and distribution.
Hello, my name is Chang. I represent BidMachine. We're actually one of the earliest header bidding solution, monetization solution as early as 2017, where we currently monetize for the top publishers in the world through our monetization platform and our ad exchange solutions. So certified across the usual mediations that you're probably familiar with, but just been there from the beginning, riding the wave of header bidding.
Cool, good. Okay, so I find myself in an interesting and unusual situation. I've very often been on the other side of this, where it's a lot of publishers, basically, and someone from an ad tech company getting to ask all the questions. But we're in a reverse situation today, which I quite like. That me as a publisher, and maybe representing quite a lot of people here, can ask the questions to you guys and get what you think. Because the truth is, I've lined up some questions here that are much more in the vein of what I want to know, and then hopefully that will answer some things that you guys want to know. Now, one key thing that came into my mind when I first started putting this together, and I put some questions to these guys, was a bit of a classic that you kind of just heard, maybe if you were around for the previous panel, which is ads versus IAP and things in that vein. And Fernando brought the very fair point of, okay, but Ryan, that's great, but like everyone knows now that like ads and IAP is important. Like, come on, that's just like obvious, which is absolutely true. And so maybe the first thing I want to put to the group is Fernando right? Is that now, like, is that the go-to? Does everyone have their established methodology for ads and IAP in combination? Are we all at this point now where we all accept that this hybrid strategy in 2025 is absolutely critical? Or any counterpoints to that you have to kick us off? If not, bad first question, and we'll move on to the next one, but I'm interested to know.
I mean, I could maybe start with that response. I think the hybrid solution is not a choice. It's actually an action that was based on, hey, how do we maximize monetization? How can we maintain the status quo? And I think every gaming company has their own philosophy and gaming principles. And I think the hybrid solution came somewhat of a desperate situation where, like, hey, can we A/B test this? Can we grow the business? Can we drive more revenue? And I think a lot of the ones that are finding success, I mean, namely Voodoo, being one of the, probably, I'm not sure if they're the first ones, but they're one of the ones that have the most impact to really bring the solution. But you date back all the way to even the Zynga's, Word with Friends franchise. They inundate users with a ton of ads to the point where they decide, okay, they're sticky enough to stay within the game. They're willing to actually use, pay for in-app purchases. So it just depends on every, gamer's philosophy or every publishing philosophy. So that's just my, my 2 cents there.
Maybe to expand on that, I think that philosophically, every game developer nowadays has to consider both. But it really depends on your starting point. So, the Voodoo example is a great one because I actually think that it's easier as an ad-based game to introduce in-app purchase more thoughtfully and kind of become hybrid than the other way around. And sometimes it's because inside of the game developers, relationships within teams, product doesn't want to integrate ads. They think they have the game economy figured out for in-app purchase. It's viewed as cannibalization. It hurts the user experience. So wholeheartedly agreed that you have to consider it and you have to A/B test your way. I think that what we're seeing now is that it's not exactly the reality across everything. The best examples are actually games that graduated from ads to hybrid. And we see actually some examples of companies struggling to do the other thing and thoughtfully integrate ads in a way that is additive to their user experience. And I think that should be ultimately the North Star to how you figure your way out of this is, what is the contribution of this thing to my LTV? And if you do this right, if you combine ads and in-app purchases well together, then ultimately what you should be seeing is just better retention and better performance and better engagement, not necessarily measured just by cents and dollars.
Yeah, I can also chime into that and say that I can see, obviously, I try to talk to many game studios and offer what we have to offer, try bringing them value. And in the past, literally quarter or two, I see an increasing amount of large companies that in the past told me, yeah, we're making a lot of money, but we're very in-app purchases focused, so ads are not enough of a priority to invest in ad quality solution. Now saying, okay, we got to the point when we realized we have to go hybrid, we have to grow the ad business, and as Itai said, it was very right, it's much harder to introduce ads when you're IP focused than the other way around, and then they're starting to talk to us, see if we can help them mitigate the risk by having better ad quality from the get-go and make the new ads. Anyway, it's difficult to introduce ads for the first time, at least keep them less intrusive. So I think it's a matter of a necessity. If in the past some companies were very successful focusing on either only IP or only IA and could, for the sake of focus, stick to one and really perfect that business and still be profitable and successful, they could do it. Today's reality of, you all know the issues, there's regulations and competition and simulation for all these reasons. They try to diversify the portfolio, and it's just a matter of necessity. More companies realize that even trying to sacrifice focus and trying to sacrifice what users are used to for years, they have to diversify in order to keep having a sustainable business and keep growing and thriving.
What I'm hearing is that Fernando was right, but it's a bit more complicated than it seems on the surface. Okay, yeah. So maybe leaning into that, like something I'd love to hear from each of you. It's good to talk about this theory, but I'm always keen to hear about the examples or the things that are out there. I'd really love to get maybe from each of you an example that you see in the market. It can be apps, games, whatever it might be, like a very tangible, specific example of someone that has either made that combination a good and effective reality, or even someone that's just still persisting on pure IAP or pure ads is making it work. I'll keep talking to give you a second to think of that example. And then whoever wants to go first, I don't know, maybe one of you two, so you can get a chance to talk. Maybe Fernando, kick us off with someone that comes to mind as use this as a good reference point on how to monetize this year.
Actually, someone that was here earlier on, Fun Games with Bitcoin Miner, they've done a really interesting job with that. Of course, the game is an idler, So there's ads involved in it, but they're also combining with other methods of monetization, with their reward system, with partner visibility, for example. So I think that's a very interesting way to kind of not just look, okay, well, this is what the market is offering right now. That's the reality. There's a downturn. Things are not great. But like, well, how about I try something different? How about I find a niche and so on? So I think that's for me a way that you can sort of think a little bit outside the box and find a different way to monetize a game and to sort of combine the real world sort of earnings with also ads.
Nice. All right. Big up Paul and the fun team. Go for it.
Yeah. I just, would like to agree with the colleagues and just to add that we have to remember that the people basically play the game. And it doesn't work like, the hybrid monetization, it's a new black, means that everybody should use exactly this approach. It doesn't work like that. We just need to understand what's the right way to monetize every player in our game. For someone, it would be ads. For someone, it would be in-app purchases. For sure, it depends on the game. It depends on your player. It depends on the behavioral patterns of your player, and you have to know it. And when you will answer to this question, you will know exactly the expectations of the people who are playing basically the game. It will give you an answer on the question if you need the hybrid monetization model, or you need to just lean on the ads or lean on the in-app purchases and so on. For sure, we have the market trends, we are living in the privacy-first world, and for sure it makes the ads monetization quite difficult than it was maybe 3 years ago. So we have to assume it as well, and we cannot just, to lean only on ads monetization as it was before. It's not so easy now. But I mean, if we are talking about really effective monetization approach, we have to understand the expectations of our people, and we have to understand that for example, Gen Z players are like the must group who are the best consumers now in the world and in the mobile gaming as well. And we have to lean on their expectations as well. So the point that I just would like to bring that both in-apps and ads should matter, not just both are the players. So data first, we need to know.
All right. And do you have a favorite publisher or dev that's making this stuff work?
Sorry?
Do you have a favorite publisher or developer that is putting that into action?
Basically, I would like probably my example, it would be the Supercell, because they're really smart in investigation and analysis of data. So basically, they have the games that they really can do that. They really lean to data. They really lean to the players' expectations to build both and gameplays and monetization. So yeah.
Cool. Guys, any other examples that come to mind?
I would maybe add Say Games as an example of, again, another hyper-casual developer that has built hybrid casual games and thoughtfully introduced in-app purchases beyond the no ads option. And they have titles, including some new ones, that are generating meaningful in-app purchase revenue, and that's a new growth engine for that company. And then I would also add maybe some non-gaming apps are now that are more like subscription-based, and you see some of them experimenting with ads as well. There's more than we typically think of ads as like, am I gonna, spam my users with interstitials? Am I gonna have a persistent banner? Am I just gonna do rewarded video? Some companies actually first dip their toes with something like an offer wall, for example. So it's still complementary to their game economy. It still highly involves transactions and helping users accumulate virtual currency. And it's a mechanism for ad monetization that helps you do that without changing the user experience too much. So there's more than one way to do this.
Yeah, I think almost no one does that pure blend of IAP and ads better than Say Games right now. I would advocate, if probably most people in this room are very familiar and do their research and know the team, but if you don't already, they're there for it. And I'm looking at my man from Voodoo thinking, maybe I should have said that about Voodoo rather than Say Games. Cool. All right. So that's some of the good things, some of the positive things that we're taking from last year and maybe looking forward to next year. But I want to stop on something a little more tricky, a little more, maybe more negative, which is sort of akin to my nature. Ad quality is a big part of how we look at and run and think about monetization at the moment. Like, you know, I'm coming from the period of hyper-casual where we were talking about the race to the bottom and, you know, the number of clicks you need and the number of end cards you have and the things that come up for a user. We're getting more and more complex. It feels like we've kind of hit the bottom now. Like we're there, we're at rock bottom, and the user experience has become like very annoying, very difficult. You know, I guess maybe what I'm keen to hear from you guys who are well, as much a part of it as I am. You know, I'm a part of the problem too, don't you worry. But like, how do we get out of this kind of slightly difficult situation where ad user experience is very challenging, very annoying for many users, but is like effective from a purely financial perspective? Like, what's your reflections on this, and how do we like learn from it, improve it, move it into 2025?
Maybe I can add something. I think the simplest way to get out of it is to generate more revenue for publishers, right? I think the reason why we have such a deterioration in the quality of ads and the experience of ads, and it's quicker now for you to close the game and then come back to it than actually to go through the whole rigmarole of clicking and so on and so forth. And how do we do that? And I think that goes back to the hybrid sort of, you know, ads, IEP combination, new methodologies, and that's, you know, the lines here are blurred now, right? We need to think beyond this and look at what else is available to us, and thinking about, you know, why are we in this situation? Of course, you know, the hyper-casual industry sort of incentivized and we led us towards that, but it's also the lack of signals on the wayside. So that, you know, CPMs went down, prices went down, competition went up. It's much harder, right? So how do we regain a little bit of that territory? And my idea here, my belief is that we need to, again, empower publishers to make more of their data, to be able to use more over the stuff they already own, both to, you know, generate better ad revenue through better ad targeting, but also to fuel their own set of decisions within the game, right? So that's my take here.
Yeah, I guess for me, that's literally what we do, try to help a publisher deal with ad quality challenges. And from what I see when from our customers and prospects that have a need and we try to get a solution for, their main challenges are transparency and control. So firstly, they don't have an effective way to be aware of the issues as they first appear. So many times they'll do something like manually review some of the ads or go to an ad network ad review tool once a week, and it's a tiny sample, so there's only so much you can see. Usually you know about the issue when it's already detrimental. Once you see an increase in churn rates or a wave of one-star reviews, and you'll start analyzing and you'll realize, it's because I already have an ongoing significant issue right now with a specific network or campaign or whatnot. And secondly, most of them don't have mechanisms to effectively enforce. So even if you know that the issue persists, you need to try and figure out which ad network it's coming from, and then talk to that ad network and hope they can resolve it. And then potentially the same buyer can target you with the same problematic campaign from a different network the next day. So whether you do it in the house or using a third-party tool, I think the two most important things is find a way to see in real time what's going on in your app, what type of ads your users see across all of your inventory segments, and secondly, try to have in place mechanisms that give you control, that if you need to take action, you can be proactive and not rely on third parties or have great delays of communication in execution. So the short answer, transparency and control is what you need to strive for.
I think that there's a triangle here that anybody in our business, in either you're a game developer or in ad tech, you need to be mindful of. Because the user experience, the quality of the user experience, it starts with how did the developer implement ads, right? You can implement them in a way that is more intrusive, less intrusive, and everybody, the race to the bottom was not just about how aggressive the ad creative became, it was also how many ads am I going to show and how disruptive are they going to be and so on. So being thoughtful about the user experience, which is leads you to the other point in the triangle, which Alex spoke about and also has great tools for, but any developer can measure churn. and should measure churn, but measuring churn in relation to the ad experience, just focusing just on that, is going to go a long way in improving user experience. And then the third one is your ad tech partners, your advertising partners, and not all ad experiences were created equal, right? Just because you put a placement somewhere in the app, each SDK might offer a different ad experience within that. And so what is the blend and diversity of the creatives that are coming through? Are my users getting bombarded with the same ad again and again and again, and it's a very aggressive user experience? Or is it more diverse? What else can I do in terms of improving the user experience across different markets that have a different demand profile? Is there a way for me to create a better mix between brand ads that make my game look more premium because it's not another game, it's a whatever H&M ad or whatever it may be? So there are different layers to thinking about this, and I think that developers more than ever have the tools to look at it, but what we've seen in the last couple of years is just the race to the bottom was also just a copycat game. Everybody's showing more ads, I will show more ads too. Everybody's having bad reviews, I will tolerate bad reviews too. And there's no such thing as publishers. There's no union out there that will change this. It's each individual game developer that needs to take the steps to actually change the paradigm.
Yeah, I like to follow that because, ad quality is also, you have to take ownership on ad quality. And it's funny because there's some developers that come and tell, across Slack channels or email and say, hey, we're seeing these ads coming into our inventory, please remove it as soon as possible. But then on the other side, you have the same UA team from the same company running the same kind of ad that is basically infiltrating the rest of the inventory. And so there needs to be some level of accountability. It does start with the community, it starts with the developers. We also know some of the biggest networks run these questionable ads that really affect the quality and affect the user and the user retention and engagement. So I think one is like self-reflect, and also, hey, can we also communicate that across the UA team and vice versa to say, hey, how do we also collectively, maintain a level of quality and then based on that also try to push the other networks to say like, hey, we're trying to, as the developer community is building this, we are very bullish about this. We're trying to stop this. How can we, as a collective group of developers and studios, respond to this to the big ad networks that are also running, these creatives. So that's one of the things that I've noticed as well. That getting the feedback and also seeing UA of the same company running, these quality or lack of quality ads to these other inventories. So.
Okay. I mean, I do find that a very funny point because I would say that while I was at Quali, I was running both the UA and the monetization, and I was this person saying both of the things at the same time. So yeah, you're totally right. Oh God.
It's just really hard for you to justify, all the ideals of having, choosing the right partners and so on. But then when it comes down, on a Friday afternoon, you present the details to your manager, and you're like, well, but we lost money, but we did the right thing. Yes, that's not going to go, right? You got to show me the money, and talk after talk after talk here, we're talking about that. Data, give me the numbers. As a service provider, the first thing that publishers come to me and say, show me the data, show me the money. Not the data, the money even. So I think it's really important to, of course, have those goals, but we need to, as service providers, of course, deliver on that, right? Be able to actually generate revenue. My bet, of course, is on first-party data. But ultimately, I think, there's something that you said that makes a lot of sense, is that publishers also have to take the leap, right? We can't just do it ourselves. We need help from publishers for them to believe in us and to help us build a better and a different industry.
It's a tough thing though, isn't it? Like, just the same way, I've seen so many times publishers try to get together to sort of create a group to say, hey, stop doing all this suspicious stuff, but then we are all literally doing it in the group at the same time and kind of suspiciously looking at each other, figuring out who's going to do the next weird thing. Like, is it similar then on the ad tech side itself, this kind of like competitive but difficult environment of trying to one-up each other? I assume it's a similar kind of situation.
I think that as the underlying technology of the ecosystem evolved in light of privacy regulation, and it changed the math around CPMs, and it changed the math around ROAS, we've seen more aggressive ads because you chase signal. On the demand side, you chase like the conversions, and then you chase monetization. So you're just like, let me increase the frequency, let me increase the ad intensity, and so on. And at the end of the day, we also are getting better at running analysis, with whether it's with better data science and analytics teams or better tools that are emerging. And I think that measuring the ultimate impact of, I increased the ARPDAU, but did I actually increase churn as well? The math has, there's a mathematical answer to this, but I think we have the habit of only looking at one side of the equation. So when you actually look at the long-term growth of the game based on churn and ad revenue, then you get the actual impact of the ad quality.
By the way, the same, I think, related to the in-app purchases. So we have to understand that the revenue from monetization is not one-day metric. So it's like long-term. And even if you get like very good spike on your ads revenue trend or in-app purchases trend, but it's very short-term, you can understand that, yes, now you get these numbers, but you lost something in the future. So this balance, the balance not between the in-app purchases and ads monetization, but the balance between day-to-day actions and monetization, balance between the good gameplay and not interrupting this gameplay with the valuable ads and in-app purchases will build the long-term strategy that will bring the maximum effectiveness of your game and maximum effectiveness of the monetization that you can get.
I really quickly want to touch on the part that made everyone smile when you mentioned that everyone tried to like make alliances and call out like bad ads, but then they run them themselves. Just to be fair, you can say something similar about ad networks as well, right? Just in the past year, AdMob, which used to be like the ad quality king, and arguably that was one of their main sales points. They saw the great success of AppLovin, who pulled it off despite much looser templates, and they changed their templates also to be more loose and more similar. So I think it's a bit of a universal thing where you can blame like networks and publishers alike. Everyone wants, a cleaner environment, a better world for their kids to have a safer environment, but also everyone wants the best bottom line for their business. So it reflects on both sides, to be honest.
Definitely. Okay, I'll move on. Interesting topic though. And before I move on to this next question, I just need to do a quick scout of the audience. Okay, all right. Mediation. It's a very interesting world at the moment. I think we all know we're living in a fairly singular environment where, like, I'll just say it. Where obviously AppLovin and Max is taking quite a big share of the market at the moment, which is good for some publishers and certainly making the most of it. But how does that impact the market? What's going to happen with that in 2025? Really interested in your guys' opinions, because that one affects me and probably a lot of this group very directly. Who's brave enough to go first on this one? Ooh.
Yeah, I'm happy to break the ice. I think that there are, two things. One is we talk a lot about mediation in the context of it being a solution that publishers choose, and then they run their ad monetization through that. The reality is actually quite different. Mediation today, especially given the dominant position that Max has in the market, is a UA decision, not a monetization decision. And there are bundle deals and dependencies that were created in the market today that make it very challenging. And it's a very smart business move, right? The switching costs are just so much higher when both sides of your business are at stake. The question is, again, for the developer community, what type of reality they want to create for themselves in terms of being able to both challenge and test and have a different conversation with their partners, because again, there are other solutions out there in the market, and if you have more than one app, if you have just one app in your portfolio, then that's a different conversation. You're making just a very narrow, specific choice, and that's how you grow your business. If you have a portfolio, you need to take a portfolio approach to your partnerships. Different games have different strengths in different markets. They could have different ad and IAP strategies and so on. You can also experiment with different tools and take a plunge at taking also that user acquisition risk outside of that ecosystem for the benefit of being more connected to more types of partner and testing other options that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, not to create an echo chamber, but I think that is very much at the heart of the problem, right? Because the main issue that we come across now is that there is a slowing down of innovation around this. Well, publishers are in the bag, mobile games in the bag, and they're fine, right? And now let's move on to the next big whale, e-commerce, for example. So that opens up, for a lot of, I think, distrust in the industry. But it's so hard for publishers actually to go at it alone. And I think, it makes a lot of sense to say, well, try what else is out in the market. What are the technologies? What are the ways of working? What other partners are out there for me to try and, recoup some of that revenue, but also recoup some of the freedom that I have to make that decision, right?
And by the way, maybe the ad experience is a little different, and maybe the user experience is a little different, and maybe the ROAS to monetization equation looks a little different, right? And not necessarily better, just maybe different, and maybe it gets you a step closer to, addressing some of your other core fundamental issues around churn and things like that. So it's just that the scariest thing is to take that first plunge and to change platforms, and the switching costs are real. And so I would advise only developers that have a portfolio to take this approach. But there are hidden benefits to doing that a lot of developers are just avoiding from actually experimenting with right now.
So I want to add that as well, because everyone's chasing for deals, bonuses, guarantees, and different kind of monetization ways to increase revenue for the year. We understand that studios and different game developers understand kind of what they have to face every year. But sometimes we also have to take a look is mediation. Well, I would say look under the hood and say, hey, are we actually also maximizing our value or our dollar within mediation, and see like how much mediation platforms are taking, or how well the tech is actually working or operating. Some of the maybe certified demand partners that you've never used before or integrated, is this something you would consider? Also think outside the box and be a little more creative. Maybe there's some different ad units that you can discuss, especially in this environment, in this event, to see what helps you guys grows the business. But also I think you have to kind of go beneath and check and see what are we with the current mediation that we have, what can we do to improve? And I think right now, and the second point that I want to bring up is that it's a monopoly right now, right? I mean, if you take a look at the history of mediation, we had the AppHarbr, HeyZap, Fiverr, AdMob. I mean, there's these cycle of just highs, and now we have 1.5, which is Max and Iron Source mediation, just being kind of the forefront right now. Maybe it's time for, even again, going back to my earlier kind of point, it's like a group of developers considering how to improve the mediation platform, maybe exploring other opportunities, not to put all your eggs in one basket, but to maybe sample, to try others, and to kind of consider, hey, maybe we can do some A/B testing if there's time, but also look underneath the hood to see, hey, what can we do to improve internal optimization and drive pricing within your mediation. So that's maybe one thing that I've talked to different developers, over the course of the couple of years, is like, we only have one choice in mediation, and well, we want to explore, but we also have one choice. So, but at the same time, it's like, hey, we're here for you. We want to work collectively together to kind of expand that opportunity and see what's out there too. So.
I think, to be fair, it's like noteworthy that also AppLovin achieved this current status with like good strategy and great execution. If it's M&A strategy that gave them presence throughout the supply chain, abundance of data, ability to like double and triple dip across the supply chain, and also this like Itai said, maybe people don't like it, but mediation sometimes it's a UA decision, and then they manage to like by packaging, encourage people to use the whole RF products. With that said, of course, no one wants a monopoly. Everyone are afraid because then they're worried about what practices they may start doing once they're for real a monopoly. They can get away with everything. So I believe, to the point of the guys on my right, people want to see other companies rise, and they want a more balanced market. And I think people, in principle, are willing to give a chance to new players, but they need to see enough to not feel that they're jeopardizing their business. I mean that they're happy to test, but like Itai said, now that it's like a 360 thing, there's a risk in migration, and there's pains, and they want to kind of see whoever they test with enough to show for, to feel that their risk is mitigated and they're not gonna waste a lot of time and money just because they want to help someone to like break the monopoly, but by doing so hurt their business badly. So
yeah. Agreed. Okay, all good points and fair, and I, for one, welcome our app-loving overlords. So, last thing from me, I get a very skewed view of the market from talking to publishers and kind of being on my side of the fence, but I'm really interested to hear, like, from your guys' side of the fence, I suppose, from the ad tech side, what do you see as the big potential changes, the tech that's coming in on your side, the things that are evolving, the things that are going to make a real difference in 2025? Like, what's the stuff that you think is actually going to matter? We got a few minutes to talk about this one, and Kseniia, kick us off.
So basically, as I mentioned before, I think that all decisions in the business, and mobile gaming, first of all, it's the big business, should lean on data. And when I'm saying lean on data, it's not just about the tracking KPIs and making some, using some decision support systems like we get used to do, like in mobile gaming, but it's about analysis of big data, analysis of the big data of behavior of the players, analysis of the big data, of same KPIs, but in long-term analysis of the big data on the market, and so on and so on. When I'm talking about that, I think it's like obvious thing, right? Everybody knows that we have to lean on the data, but what does it mean, and how the tech can help us? So if we are talking about analysis of the big data, only ML can help us to to manage that, because nobody, not me, not my famous colleagues, not you, we cannot analyze tens, thousands of parameters for every player in the real time. It's just impossible. And for making it possible, we have to use the high tech. It's machine learning, it's artificial intelligence, and it's not for the future. It's like our current days, and we have the great tools on the market which can help us to do that. From all perspectives, from the user acquisition, from the in-app purchases monetization, from the ads monetization, and the really good and smart approach that we can use nowadays, it's to build the full cycle from, it can be different tools, it can be one tool if you know this solution, where you start to analyze the data from the user acquisition, and when you invest some budget to the user acquisition, and following data, how you will monetize this traffic that will come to your game. So you analyze the user acquisition, you do it by the smart way, and for every cohort how you're going to monetize it, what's the potential of the players in this cohort. And it's better to monetize through the ads, it's better to monetize through the in-app purchases, or to make a hybrid model, it should be exactly lean only on the data, on the prediction LTV for every cohort, and only ML and artificial intelligence can help you to make it by the smart way, with not leaning on some hypothesis, but to using very high accuracy.
Agree. But also, I think publishers should consider making a big bet on, and I'll say, of course, the first-party data, right? First of all, is future-proofed. You own this data, it's yours. How can you leverage that to not just power better decisions within your game, but also to make better decisions when running ads within your game, and not just the UA campaigns, which can now be used as well as a tool, but also just to sort of to help your monetization. So I think first-party data, it helps you be compliant, helps you reach users that aren't being able to reach, and of course, is something that you own, and therefore makes it future-proof.
Yeah, I think not only what they're going to use, but what they're going to do with this. So yeah, data is king, and now we have better technology like ML and AI to utilize it. What I think we're going to see, I'm curious to see how much it will mature this year, but I'm sure we're going to see a trend now, is hyper-personalization based on data. So if in the past you may be segmented on the geo level or paying versus not paying, we're reaching to the point where you can customize the entire app experience per user. So maybe if Kseniia plays it, she'll see less ads, but more in-app purchase campaigns because she's inclined to it. And Fernando will see mostly ads, but all the creatives will be red and with a call to action because that's what he responds to, and he clicks through and installs, and you all get the point. We can reach the world when if you have 1 million players, you have 1 million segments, where for each of them you can customize the content of the app, the ad experience and placements and content, the in-app purchase strategy, and really maximize every single session in order to improve your ROI.
Sorry guys, I'm going to have to stop you there because we're out of time. So thanks very much for everyone. It's been an interesting discussion, and thanks for dealing with my jabby questions.
Thank you.
We've been the Felix warm-up panel. Thank you very much.